Thanks for tuning in to Prime Sports NASCAR as we have 10 races remaining before the playoffs begin. Sonoma's in the books. Kyle Larson dominates again for a second straight week. Eric Smith joining me as always from racereviewonline.net to wrap up the weekend in NASCAR. Also take a look, of course, at the playoff standings, the updated standings, not just for the regular season, but for the playoffs, Eric. And based on what we saw this Sunday at Sonoma, the results for the top 4 or 5 drivers seems to be what people might be expecting for the favorites right now if you were looking at them. And might have, of course, throw in Martin Truex Jr. in there, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott. But Kyle Larson looks like he's the odds-on favorite to win it right now.
Yeah, I'd say at this stage, Larson looks like the guy that is going to be the championship front runner. We were saying that this time last year, Harvick and Hamlin, and neither of them won the championship then. So
that's true.
It's hard to forecast. That's why I think a lot. I wrote about this yesterday, and I made a comment on the broadcast too. Is this what we saw yesterday in the top 4 and 5? Is this the championship 4 preview? I mean, we see how many times we talk about the championship 4 that the same guys finish 1, 2, 3, 4, and then every year it's like, why even bother having anybody else on the track? Well, here we are yesterday. I know it's a road course, can't translate a lot over other than the same 750 horsepower package, and you've got arguably the best guy right now in the season. He won. He's got 3 wins. Chase Elliott, the defending champion, 5 top 5s his last 6, 4 straight in the top 3, finishes second. The other guy with 3 wins this season, 2 of them on 750 tracks, Truex, he finishes third. 4th, Joey Logano, 3 top 5s his last 4. He's been in the top 5 or top 6 on every 750 track. He's 4th. And then you got Kyle Busch, who's starting to heat up. 5 top 10s his last 6, 4 of those in the top 5, and he finishes 5th. So is that a preview? I say yes. I say right now those are your top 4 are probably your championship 4 favorites, with Kyle Busch knocking on the door. That's why the playoffs, I think, are a good thing, because if we were going on this path, you got Denny Hamlin running the way with it, Kyle Larson catching them, and nobody else really in the hunt. So at least we can have some drama. But right now, as we sit here today, early June, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the exact order of what we could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the best cars on the season in general too.
It is interesting that Denny Hamlin, he's got the big lead, and yet Kyle Larson has clearly been a better driver than Denny Hamlin has during this last 5 race stretch. And it's kind of coincided almost perfectly, with Denny Hamlin's cooling off, Kyle Larson getting hot. And based on the parity that we have this year in the Cup Series, we're going to see another driver take over for Kyle Larson soon. Someone else will go through a run. Maybe it's Chase Elliott next, because he's first, second, and second. So maybe he's the one that's now ready to go on the run. And with 10 races left, I wouldn't be surprised if we had 2 more drivers go on hot runs before we get to the postseason, not named Kyle Larson.
And we've talked about this in the past. It's like, somebody's going to get hot, but do you get hot at the wrong time? And I've got a little tease for my Nashville. I worked ahead a little bit because we got the AllStar Race this weekend and the 5 burning questions. I've got, are we putting as weird as this sounds, 4 straight 1-2 finishes out of Hendrick? Are we putting too much stock into them? And I took a deep dive into look at their success right now. None of these tracks are in the playoffs. And I have stats for what they've done so far this season for tracks that are in the playoffs and what their competition has done. So that's why we talked about last year, Harvick and Hamlin going through the end of this month, they combined, or you can just go all last year. They combined to win 16 of the 36 races. They're 0 for 16 this year. It ebbs and flows. So only one of them made it the championship 4 last year, and Hamlin wasn't the best car in that race either. So right now, like we talked about last week, the question was, are all 4 Hendrick guys going to get in the championship 4? That was brought up, or how many of them? I think after yesterday's shows, probably your safe bet's 2, but it's going to change again. The Penske's, they've been dreadful lately, other than Logano. Do we have another last gasp out of Hamlin? Does Harvick figure it out? You see Kyle's is quietly sitting there knocking on the door. They're going to eventually figure things out. Where did their dominance trump what Larson's doing now? I mean, because
Could
Larson,
be.
he's running 5 straight top twos. You can only go down from there, right? I mean, how
Absolutely.
much can you further go up? I mean, he's won, 5 straight stages? He's got 26 playoff points already, 11 stage wins. Eventually, that's going to taper off. Somebody's going to come in. And is he peaking too soon? So that's going to be something we're going to need to watch. I guess that's a teaser. That's in my Nashville Bernie questions for the next points pain race. So we'll see. But
And by the
as
way, I
far as
think
the
it's
standings,
also important to note that I think these stretches can happen a lot easier when there's no practice and qualifying tweak.
yeah,
Because when you
yep,
are hot, you get that couple, especially if you're a good driver, you're always going to be in the top 5, top 10. Now you get hot for a couple of races. Now you're in the top 1 or 2 rows. Now you're not having to deal with dirty air. So like
yep,
Kyle
the key.
Larson, who look, he was clearly, it didn't matter where he was clearly the best driver, but still, what if Kyle Larson had started where Truex started the race? How do we know? How do we know Kyle Larson wouldn't have had the result Truex had, and vice versa? So it's like Eric Almirola's season. The exact
Yep,
opposite approach. He can't get out of the hole because he
yep.
can't get up and start in the top 10 because he can't qualify. So he's stuck starting 25th and 30th every week, and he just can't start these races in a better position to end them better. So he gets a chance the following week to start better, and so forth and so on.
And that's why I think, like we teased last week, are the 16 drivers in right now going to be your playoff field? Because it's so hard. You got to look. Most of them are starting the top 16, 17 off back are starting back there. We're not qualifying. I mean, other than Road America coming up in the Indy Road Course in Nashville, I guess. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of on track time. No practice. The inaugural events and specialty events are the only ones. So you're not going to set the field off qualifying. It's going to be off owner points and the formulas, and those guys are going to have a hard time digging themselves out of the hole and getting a win because they're already starting off on the wrong foot. How do you get onto it when the guys in front of you are just so dominant already? How do you pass a car that's already so dominant other than fluke cautions, pitch strategy type deal? But you go down that path, there's a good chance you can get it wrong too, and you're never going to make it up. You just keep compounding bad result after bad result after bad result, and it's tough to climb out of. So I think like right now, you look at the bubble. We'll just focus on the wild card.
And Harvick
Hamlin's
is far enough ahead of points that even though he doesn't have a win, he doesn't have anything to worry about just yet.
he's still plus 152. These guys are further. I mean, we look at Harvick's day yesterday. He was non-existent, never towards the front. He only lost 1 point.
Yeah.
He went from plus 153 to 152. Is he going to have results like that every week? Absolutely not. Does he have to win? Clearly, he doesn't show like they've got it yet. But he only lost 1 point. He entered plus 153.
He gained an
So,
extra race to check off the list that says I
yep,
don't have to worry about. Now it's four drivers, right, that would have to win in the
to
next
knock
10
him out.
race to knock him out.
Yep. And
That
you look at
doesn't have a win.
No, yeah, exactly. And
Except
you look at where
Hamlin.
things were going. Yeah, we had 10 winners in the first 11 races. The last 5 we've had. It's been Truex, Larson, and Bowman to win in this stretch, or Elliott too. So there's nobody. What makes us think as we sit here right now, and let's look at the guys. Matt DiBenedetto, he's never won a race. Kurt Busch is good for 1 a year, but other than yesterday, he's had 12 finishes of 13th or worse, and the 13 starts prior. Stenhouse Jr. has only won 2. He hasn't won a race since 2017. Ross Chastain's never won. Bubba Wallace has never won. Daniel Suarez has never won. Ryan Newman hasn't won since 2017.
Yeah. He's
Ryan
in good
Preece
shape.
has never won. Yeah. Eric Jones has got 2 wins. Briscoe's a rookie. He's never won. Custer's got 1 win. Almirola hasn't won since 2018. And now we're down to 29th and 30th with your kind of field fuller teams. What makes us think any of those guys are going to win a race in these next 10? It's starting to really separate. And you look at the playoff bubble, the points, and that's even starting to grow. I mean, Chris Buescher, he didn't get a top 10 yesterday. It was just kind of top 15 guy, but he gained 5 points still. He went from plus 55 to plus 60. Reddick, he gained 6 points. Austin Dillon had a battery issue, and he gained 13 points, and he didn't even finish in the top 10. So it's Hamlin being plus 333. Even if Larson continues this up, and here's where I'm a little, I don't know how much to read into the tracks or if Hamlin's lost a lot. He had 8 top fives his first 9 races. The last 8, he's had 1. So is that a byproduct of these aren't playoff tracks? They're kind of experimenting. They're trying to figure out how to win those races. Or has he dropped off? Or is it Larson and Hendrick gained that much? But nevertheless, say Larson still catches him. He's 333 points above the bubble.
Yeah.
You only get 46 points is the most you're going to score in a race. I mean, he's almost clinched a spot just because nobody's catching him. He's over 200 points clear, or almost 200 points clear of Harvick, who's the next best. So I think what we're really talking about now, playoffs, is somebody new going to win. Kurt Busch gained 20 points yesterday, but can he really gain 20 points every week? I mean, he's still 63 points behind. I think it's going to take somebody going to have to fluke their way to a win, or this 16 might be your playoff.
How would you feel about where Reddick and Busch are right now?
I'd only be nervous only in the sense that you're in the last 2 spots, that it's still NASCAR. We saw Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, and William Byron start the year off with wins. Anything can happen. But I would feel good that, hey, look, if we don't have it, look at the guys above us that do. You got to beat them too.
Yeah.
And Reddick, I mean, other than him having a tire rub, he still had 5 top 10s his last 7. Chris Buescher's got 3 top 10s his last 6. And you got to look at the guys that are trying to fight their way in to get by them on points. Let's just speak on points, not wins right now. Matt DiBenedetto's last 5 finishes are 19th, 24th, 23rd, 18th, and 23rd. That's not going to get it done. Kurt Busch, 12 finishes of 13th or worse in his last 13. He's got 1 top 5 finish all year. Stenhouse Jr., 7 of his last 8 have been 17th or worse. He's got 1 top 10 all year. Chastain's got 3 top 10s, 1 top 5 all year. Bubba's starting to heat up. Three of his best 4 finish, or 3 of his best results all season come the last 4 races. None of them are in the top 10 though. So what about those drivers and what they're doing right now do I feel like is going to catch those 2 on the bubble? I don't think they are at this rate. And if you are, you're going to have to make some major changes that can work against you again. So if I'm Reddick, Dillon, Buescher, I play it conservative. I go for stage points. I build an even bigger cushion to force those guys' hand that, hey, if you're going to get in, you're going to have to win to beat us. You can't points your way by me anymore. You're going to have to win. So it's further separating that now.
Yeah, and by the way, just kind of quickly wrapping up what happened in the race, it was unfortunate that we had teammates battling it out in the last several laps. Now, the second to last caution, when there was about 4 laps or whatever to go, that's when I was, look, I didn't expect most of the drivers, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know they had talked about the fact that Chase Elliott could not pit because he had already used all of those
tires. Yep.
I don't know who else was in that same scenario, but if other drivers weren't in that scenario, it just shows you again the difference in points between first and 10th or 5th is just not enough, that these drivers and these decisions they're too conservative. It was 10 years ago where we used to always talk about these situations at the end of races where a driver who was leading the race was in no man's land. What was he going to do with 5 or 4 laps to go? The caution's out. If he pits and everybody stays out, or if he stays out and everybody pits. We don't talk about that anymore. Nobody makes any of these drastic decisions anymore, and it stinks for the sport. And then you throw in the fact that you have Chase Elliott and Larson teammates. Elliott was right there twice in the final couple of laps where he could have moved Larson if he wanted to. If that was not his teammate, I think he moves the guy. I really do. But they're teammates. They're going to play nicely. Again, another bad thing for the fans.
Yeah, that's where it's tough with teammates battling each other, right? Because I mean, Elliott could have used the points if Larson wasn't his teammate. He didn't need him. I mean, you got to look at playoff points. Let's just look at the bonus, the playoff points that you get to the playoffs. Larson's now got 26. Chase Elliott has 6. He's got so to keep it in simple terms. Let's say the playoffs start tomorrow. Larson's 20 points already ahead of Chase Elliott. We haven't even raced yet. He's already 20 points ahead of him. That he gave up 5 points by letting him win. And granted, Larson just had a better car. There was nothing he could do
Well,
other than,
yeah,
like you said, on restarts you rough him up, maybe give him a little bit of damage, push him off the track. They played nicely. And the pit thing, yeah, they were all NASCAR gave them 5 sets of tires for the race. They're trying to limit some of the fluke stuff, some of the cost of tires. They all use them, which that's up to them when you want to use the tires.
sure.
The strategy game was starting playing fun. Some of these cautions threw a wrench in it at the end because you did have 5 sets. And a lot of times, like we've talked in Sonoma in the past, you want to pit right before the stage is ending to get your track position after the stage. Hey, I don't need stage points. I'm just going to pit knowing some guys are going to stay out. They're going to have to pit, and then I'm going to cycle back up to the lead afterwards. Well, the competition caution threw a wrench into things in lap 10 because guys pitted before that, which opened strategy up for guys to not pit, i.e. Kyle Larson at the end of the stage. Some guys did pit. So now you had 2 different strategies. Stenhouse brings a caution out in the second stage, similar to the competition caution. A lot of guys pit then knowing, hey, I've got one more stop to make. I can pit now and I can stay out at the end of the second stage now. Larson was like, what do I have to lose? I'm going to stay out. I'm going to try something new. Truex did too. But Truex found out quickly, I've got nothing for him. Let's go opposite. I'm going to pit before the end of the second stage, which some other guys did. So you had 3 different strategies, which was fun. It was playing out. This is going to be all right. Can Larson overcome this? And then we had those cautions in the end that threw a big wrench into things because everybody had 2 sets left. They knew they were going to stop once. You leave another set for a fluke caution, and we got 3 of them at the end. So they were out of tires. But to me, the intriguing factor would have been – Logano had nothing for him all day. He went long. He decided to pit at the end of the second stage, or afterwards, I should say. Stage in him, Larson, those guys come down pit road, knowing I'm going to stretch as long as I can this final stint, knowing I'm going to have fresher tires than everybody towards a short run to the end, because that's proved to be key. He got a caution 5 laps after the fact. He didn't have to pit again. He's in the lead. Keselowski, which I don't think that they understated this, I think, he hit pit. He lucked out. He saw the caution was coming, and he happened to be at the pit entrance, and they ducked down right before they waved the caution. So he took new tires, filled up. He was good to the end. He cycled to second. Penske had 1-2. Over the wall too soon penalty. Crushed him. It could have been a 1-2. Those 2 would have put up a fight from the Hendricks, Larson, and Elliott coming through, and Truex to make things interesting. But Keselowski went to the back. Logano had no help. His car wasn't as good as those guys, and he was just kind of a sitting duck. But that's where strategy kind of comes into play, where Truex said, hey, I didn't need those cautions at the end. I had a long run car.
Sure.
Maybe he would have had something. But other than that, it was the few cautions at the end screwed up would have been a fun strategy race because Larson, it was all for naught. Didn't matter what strategy they were on. They were passing everybody, which was good to see. We could see somebody pass, even on a road course. He went to the back and still did it, and that just shows his strength right now. But the main question moving forward is how much does that translate over, and we don't know that yet.
Look, it's just we've had back-to-back weeks now, and with the AllStar race this week, that means we have to wait until the Nashville race in a couple of weeks before we get another chance for a race that is not dominated. I mean, we've had 2 just completely dominated races.
Well, if you look at the season, and I even wrote about this too, most of these races have been blowouts. Look what Larson did at Kansas. He led 102 laps. Look what Truex did at Darlington. He led 225 or 235 of the 293. Hamlin dominated Richmond and Martinsville. Larson dominated Atlanta, but Blaney stole that win from him in the end. We've had a lot of guys dominate races. They haven't won them all. Larson was doing a lot of domination and he wasn't winning. Now he's winning these races and even stages. It's not even close. I mean, Hamlin led all of NASCAR last year with 11 stage wins in 36 races. Larson's already there in 16 races. He's got 20 less races, and he has the same amount of stage wins that Hamlin had all of last year. The record is 19 stage wins for his season. He's only 8 shy, and there's still 20 races to go. There's 40 stages left, and he only needs to win 8 of them to tie it.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how good he is. But the other factor to bring up, as we'll get closer to, I think it'd be a good one for a topic for Road America. Since we've ever been there before, there's not a whole lot to talk about leading in there because we don't know past trends. Is do we need to have cautions at the end of stages on road courses, or can we keep the flow going? Does that change anything? Because sometimes the caution is just like, why are we just stopped for a competition caution, and now we've got another yellow. The track's big enough that you could pit and not lose a lap anyways. So that's going to be the main factor for that stages is, yes, you get stage points. Clearly the guys, you can see the guys that are going for stage points and not now. Do we even need to go down that factor anymore? Or let's keep the race moving and let's see who wins this thing in the end. Because I think we get the races done a lot quicker too, rather than these long cautions for stage breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, the gimmick, it's the thing that is really separating. And look, who knows what's going to happen with the new car? That's the thing that we just don't know. Is it going to be where we're going to be like, oh, great, because this new car, the way it's set up, it benefits to have these extra brakes? Or because if it gets any worse, it's at the point where the tires are just so good nowadays. The drivers are so good that you just don't get these cautions like you used to, especially on the bigger tracks or even on these road courses. I mean, we didn't have that many cautions really until the end on a road course.
Yeah, you take out the competition caution and the 2 stage breaks. That's 3 of the first 4 yellows. NASCAR brought those on. It wasn't anything on track. And we had 4 in the last 17 laps. We had the same amount of cautions in 17 laps as you did. Yeah, and it seems to me, and this could be the guys are just that good now, and I haven't went back to look, maybe it'd be a good few weeks when they have the Olympic break to look through. Who's bringing these cautions out? It seems like it's back markers. It seems like those are the ones that are bringing cautions out. It's not the guys up front. It seems like if we see a spin or a crash, it's not Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle. It's like Anthony Alfredo, Davison. It's
drivers
Cody
who shouldn't even be racing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so if we stop bunching those guys up, and those guys are racing with 5-6 different cars where they can wreck, do we not even have any cautions? Are we starting to go down the path where are these cautions actually brought out because we were going to go start to finish without any cautions these days, and somebody run away leading 300 to the 400 laps? Is that where we're going?
By 15 seconds.
Yeah. I can see where that would turn people off too. So
that's why it could
be a slippery slope.
Yeah, it might be beneficial. We'll see next year. I'm hoping. I hope these cautions and these stage breaks are beneficial because they're not beneficial right now. But these cars will be non-existent after the season. When is that break? The Olympic break?
In July. I think it's between. I got the schedule date. I don't have the date.
Is that in the regular season?
New Hampshire. Yeah, it's between New Hampshire and Watkins Glen. Like IndyCar's taking the whole month off. I think NASCAR is like two or 3 weeks off between New Hampshire and Watkins Glen. You should have about 2 weeks off. I don't have the dates. I just have Road America, then Atlanta the next week, then New Hampshire, and then I believe Watkins Glen's the first week of August, like usual. So it should be 2 weeks. 2 weeks between races there.
It's gonna be between New Hampshire and Watkins Glen. So, yeah. All right. Well, that stinks. 2 whole weeks off, and then when they come back, it'll be the road course of Watkins Glen, which who knows. Back-to-back road courses when they get back after the break.
Then Michigan and Daytona. So you're welcome back. But that is going to be a weird time for us. We haven't had this before because we got no IndyCar race and no NASCAR race. We've got nothing.
And what's the reason for this?
The Olympics, because they're both on NBC Sports, IndyCar and NASCAR at that point. And NBC's got all their resources on the Olympics, which are they even happening? Have we even heard anything more? Last I heard about the Olympics was like, hey, we may not even go to Japan anymore. But
Yeah, I know. I
because
can understand IndyCar. I was just surprised that NASCAR couldn't figure
I
out
think,
another way to get on another channel.
well, I think because they're the same. They don't want to go to like USA or True TV or something like that. They're like, hey, we want NBC or NBC or CNBC. Like, let's just take a couple weeks off. It
You
doesn't
know,
affect our
it would have
schedules.
been creative. What they should have done is put a deal together like the NFL apparently has come up with. I'm not sure if it starts this year or next year with the Thursday night games and are only going to be on Amazon Prime now.
Yep.
So NASCAR could have done that. Said, all right, this
Yeah.
week, at Watkins Glen, we're going to be streaming only.
Yep. Or do a weeknight race. You could fill in. I mean,
yeah.
You don't have a ton of other than swimming and gymnastics and water polo. I mean, you probably don't have a lot going on.
Goodness gracious. I hope there's good golf going on at that time because baseball and
that's about it.
I don't know. Maybe Wimbledon's going on around that time. Hopefully something's happening because that could be
there's not going to be much.
That's a good time to go on vacation.
That is a great time. That's why we
sacrifice for the family.
This is where it sounds wrong, and maybe we're in the window, but my wife and I mistimed the third and hopefully final pregnancy as we're due a weekend after or the week after Indy. We would have been better off to be due that time.
See, you didn't schedule it right. A few weeks.
Yep. Yeah, mistimed it by a few weeks or a few weeks off.
Hopefully, for your sake, there won't be another time for you to miss time or time it right. I think you have enough.
Three.
Yeah, I think
3 and done would be good for me.
Probably. That's a good number. All right. So we have the AllStar Race this weekend. What should we know about that? Because there's no show on Wednesday. So this is it, except for our IndyCar show on Thursday. So we'll have our Prime Sports Speed Show where we're going to, that's the first show, that's the premiere show where we're going to start previewing IndyCar races on a weekly basis. I should say that'll be the second one because we did preview the Indy 500.
Yeah.
But what's up for so it's in Texas this time. So anything different that we should know about this week?
There's a lot different. I don't think you can translate anything from past All-Star races to obviously last year was at Bristol, so there's no comparison there. You could maybe look at Charlotte when it was at Charlotte all those years, but we've got 5 stage breaks for a 100-lap race.
5 stage breaks
for a 100-lap
race. 100-lap race, okay?
And you're going to have...
Why? Are they going to be inverting the field after these stage breaks?
Yeah, they're using a metrics and a formula to set the lineups between. You're going to need a pen and paper, a calculator, and 3 ibuprofen to watch this thing.
You got to be crazy to put some good money to bet on that race because you're just going. I don't know. I mean,
there is literally no strategy. I don't think the teams are even like, what do I need to do? And then the last stage, green checkered comes out the end of the 4th segment going into the last one. They all pit, and it goes somehow the way you order of the last finish, and whoever has the quickest pit stop is going to get – there's going to give money like, oh, you had a 12.2 second – you're the quickest of the 21 cars. You win $100,000. Or it's something weird like this.
Okay.
They're going to get paid and it's going to weigh into how you restart the final segment. So that's why I said there's literally no rhyme or reason to put any money on this because there's no way of knowing.
Who's the best pit crew so far this season?
Bowman, because he had that quick stop in Dover, had the quickest time. The Hendrick, to me, I think they're all pretty even. I mean, they're all
that's like
away.
So no team.
Nobody's ran away and hid from anybody. I think because especially the All-Star race, you're having the top cars anyways. It's gonna be the top pit crews. It's if we're gonna digest these, it's like you're probably talking tenths of a second on a stop.
Sure.
Or a faulty pit gun that's out of your control. So there's no rhyme or reason to really know, like, oh, I think Chase Elliott's going to have a real favorite here because he's good at Texas. Like, nah, I mean, throw it out. It's a 100-lap race with 5 segments, and there's no points on the line. So
and a pit stop.
Do they just ride around to get to the end, or do they wreck trying and say, screw this, I want out of here?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. So
It's all we have this weekend for NASCAR, but that's why you
yep,
have the IndyCar coming up on Saturday and Sunday. So we'll talk more about that on Thursday, and be back in. Actually, this show won't be back for a couple of
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yep.
after Nashville.
Yep.
And CJ and I will preview the Nashville race a week from Wednesday. All right, Eric. So again, everything at racereviewonline.net is as usual. You've got
Yep.
everything from all the stories out from yesterday's race.
Yep, they're all up there. There's 5 of them. One with Larson winning, how he won, main takeaways. Talk about how Ganassi got to finish this they needed with Busch and Chastain. Then broke down Elliott's day, Logano's day, and Truex's day with quotes from them. So all of them up in Race Review Online right now. Then we'll have IndyCar since NASCAR is done for the week other than the All-Star. I'll have the track trends for IndyCar tomorrow. Got the favorites and preview on Wednesday, the sleepers on Thursday, 5 burning questions on Friday. Had a Zoom call with Graham Rahal and Sebastian Bourdais this morning. Got those articles up right now.
Okay.
They're already up with quotes from them. So just be fully focused on IndyCar this week before then we have more IndyCar, NASCAR, both the week after with Nashville and Road America for them.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate it as always, Eric. We'll talk to you again in 2 weeks as far as this show. I'll be on board with you on a Thursday, of course, as we talk about the race in Detroit this weekend in the IndyCar Series.
Yep. Thank you. Talk to you
got
Thursday.
it.